up there? Yes? Okay, it's 7:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, William Johnston.
Here.
Tom Graffinino.
Here.
Lisa Kreckler.
Here.
Lynn Colligan is excused. Phil DiOrio is here, and we also have Stephen Kiley, town attorney, via Zoom. First order of business is to review and approve the August 23rd, 2023 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we just have one application to discuss tonight. That's 12 Tar Kettle Road. It's an addition on the house. It's going to follow the I'll call it the front yard line of the existing house. The front yard line is in the setback, so it's requiring an area variance for the extension and also a special permit because we're increasing the bulk of the nonconformity of an already nonconforming house. The house presently has 2 bedrooms. It'll wind up with 4 bedrooms. And from what I can see, it's a modest house. It's going to remain a modest house. It doesn't intrude into the side yard setback. And there's a new IA system in place.
Right.
And whatever, I'd like to just open this up for anybody to chime in here for a bit. Anyone?
I know like we had talked about some other options for this property and we had brought up, you know, maybe instead doing a second story or something so they don't expand as much into the setbacks, but that would also have a lot of hardship on the owner because it would have been 50% more of the cost to do that. So they decided to stick with the 1 story, which I think makes sense. The only thing that is feasible, I think they could push it back, that addition, so that it was actually all in their buildable area. But I can see why they also kept it in line with the front of the house.
Right.
And you start to get close in the backyard to the edge of the wetlands. I mean, it could be pushed back some. You're just, for me, it's, you know, what's more desirable to continue that line along the street side or push a little closer to the wetlands? And then, you know, they could probably do it without getting into the 100-foot mark. But it's getting closer to the wetlands as opposed to staying close to the road where they're already close to the road.
Right, and it's already, the house is already existing.
It looked more presentable, look at a straight line and jags, setbacks. Wouldn't notice as much as a straight line.
And they did say the roof line was to remain the same.
Right.
And we also discussed some vegetation. The plan was that they're not going to be removing any based on this construction. And then their plan was to have to plant trees eventually on the side. They weren't prepared yet to present us a plan.
And for me, I think that because there's no intrusion into the side yard, I don't think that we need to require something on that side. If anything, it would be in the front, but personally, I think it's going to fit very nicely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Punch, anything else?
No.
Tom, anything else?
I think the only thing that came up and that was just from one of the photos, was the boat. There was a boat on one side of the house, and we had questioned where the boat would be, and it was not a big deal. And again, the vegetation with what's there,
Yeah.
I see no issue.
Okay. Mr. Town Attorney, do you feel like we're ready to go for our worksheets here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, shall we do the special permit first or the area variance first?
I don't have mine with me tonight.
Right there, they're right there underneath.
Oh, underneath? Oh, yeah, okay.
Which,
We're moving up papers.
how
Which one you gonna do first?
about we do the area variance? Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay. Whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. Say no, I think it's a modest addition. It's continuing along the same line as the
Previous,
existing house.
yeah.
And I don't think, in today's day and age where someone could buy that house and knock it down and put up a 5,999 square foot house, if this is any kind of a detriment.
No, they could put a two-story house up and then it would override the rest of them.
Yep. Lisa, you good there?
Yep.
Okay. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. I would say yes. The house, that section could be pushed back, or they could do a second story. So I think that they, in the search for 2 more bedrooms, there are some alternatives. I do think that this is the best alternative, though.
I agree with that.
Yep.
Because if you go up on the second story, you come down the road, it'll hit you.
Yeah,
Where it's down low, you won't notice as much.
right.
When things get taller, that's when you notice.
Yeah. Whether the requested variance is substantial, I would say yes.
It looks like they
you got the
need a
numbers.
7.7 foot variance for that front section.
7 foot, 7?
7.7 feet.
7.7.
Seven.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
All right.
So that's,
Yeah.
whatever, a 25% intrusion, more or less, into the setback. So that is a substantial. Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood?
No, I don't say no.
I don't think so at all.
And like
It's just-
like you
it's
said,
just-
by keeping it forward, you're keeping it
Further
further
away.
away, yeah.
Right.
Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Having the search for 2 bedrooms is self-created, but the line of the house, it's an old house where it's certainly not their doing that the house is in the setback originally. So I don't know if we want to say,
It was built before zoning.
right. So do we want to say that the alleged difficulty is self-created just because folks would like to get the 2 more bedrooms? So that's a yes. Okay. All right. Going to move on to the special permit. The general suitability. Is the proposed use the most appropriate use of this land?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, it's a residential
Yeah,
zone.
right.
And will the use be detrimental to surrounding property values? I can only see it improving neighboring property values.
And the use is not changing.
Yeah.
Right.
Still,
Will the use cause an overcrowding of land or undue concentration of population? Just doesn't seem germane to this discussion. But the land is not going to be overcrowded, and I don't see the population concentration being undue. Is the site suitable for the location of such use in the town?
Yes.
Yes. It's in a residential zone. Is the proposal harmonious with the character of the existing and probable development of uses in the vicinity?
Yes.
I would say yes. Is the proposed use accessible for fire and other emergency apparatus? Well, it's
Yes.
close to the road.
Right.
Is the proposed use unreasonably near a church, school, theater, recreational area, or other place of public assembly?
No.
No, I mean, there's that one little spot down on Grace's Lane there, but
Right.
it's not unreasonably close to that.
No.
Will the proposed use interfere with the established uses in the neighborhood? No, I think it's the same uses in the neighborhood. Are the driveways and sidewalks adequate to assure the public safety and avoid traffic congestion? So there are no sidewalks.
No,
And the driveway is, I think it's going to be the same driveway still. Are there adequate facilities for the treatment, removal, or discharge of sewage, refuse, or other effluent from this use? Well, they have a new IA system.
yeah,
So I think there are in fact adequate facilities. Will the proposed use cause odors, dust, light, or noise? And if so, how can the impact be minimized? I don't think it's going to cause any of those things. And I think that the house now will be required to be dark skies compliant with this addition.
and also you're gonna do the runoff, they'd be collecting the water.
That's right. That's right. Anything in the near shore, they have to.
Sure,
Yep.
they got the dry wells.
Yep. Will the proposed use impact the aquifer and other important natural resources? And if so, how can they be protected? I can't see how this would have any effect on the aquifer at all. Is the lot big enough for the proposed use, and is its reasonable anticipated operation and expansion? I think that the lot is big enough.
Yeah,
The proposed use is residential, and it's really not much of an expansion. Is there enough off-street parking for employees or visitors, and is parking laid out in a convenient and safe way? So it does appear that we may be somewhat short on parking there, but parking on the street there is in fact legal. What buffers and screening are necessary to protect adjacent properties and land uses? So I think that there's no screening necessary. There's some existing screening.
Yes.
This is not going to intrude into the side yard setback. All right, do we want to put any conditions on this?
I can't think of any.
I can't either.
small addition,
Yep.
on a side street,
All right.
not on the main thing.
All right, so I think we're going to go with no conditions. Mr. Town Attorney, is there anything that you feel like we have not addressed here?
I just wanted to make it clear that they're currently holding a 22.3, according to the survey, a 22.3 front yard setback. And they're proposing a 22.3 yard.
Yeah.
22.3. So again, they're already encroaching. There's already a historical encroachment of 22.3.
Yeah,
So they're just,
yeah. I mean, we're keeping the same line going across here.
Yeah, we're not in,
But we are increasing the built area that's going to be in the setback.
Right.
But we're not moving it any closer to the road than what's currently there.
that's
yeah,
correct.
what's historically been set. Yep.
All right, so anything else on this application? Stephen, you can't think of any conditions that we need here, right?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Town Attorney. Does anybody else have anything else for this? All right, so we're going to get a resolution together and vote on this next week, folks.
Right.
So that, whatever, you'll be done and dusted here at the zoning board of appeals next week. All right, thank you. All right, so we have one other thing to discuss tonight, and that's the revised application package.
Flower,
What's that?
for flower?
No, just the.
We're not gonna do it.
No, that's,
Next
we're reopening the hearing, so we have to do that at the hearing.
Oh, next week?
Yeah,
All right, we don't need that.
no, that's,
I jumped the gun.
all right,
Sorry.
better to be ready to move forward than backward.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I read through this, all of it makes sense to me. It seems provide more clarity than the old application form. The checklist is on the money.
Yeah, the goal is to make it easier for
Right.
the applicant.
Right, and I just think that this, it makes everything, I don't know, cleaner, easier, and just, it makes getting here less painful, I think, for folks.
There are just a couple things that I wanted to point out. I just noticed we have a variances for work done without a permit. That's
Say that again?
variances, a fee for variances for work done without permit. We haven't done that in a long time. I even forgot we have such fee, which is coming next week, interestingly enough.
Okay,
Anyway,
so that it would be double, just like the way the
Yeah.
building permit.
yeah, exactly. But we as the zoning board haven't dealt with that much. But yeah, there's not even many cosmetics upgrades there. We took some stuff out that was mainly from state, just so we're not responsible for accuracy of it, since it's a state document. But
And yeah, she's right. And it was also from 2015. So it's kind of stale and I
yeah.
don't,
And the
my-
information is out there for whoever is interested in doing their research, right? They can simply Google it.
particularly with artificial intelligence.
So we have three documents that I want to discuss a little closer. Was a mailing notice. That month,
Let me get.
Page are you on, Christina?
page 16. So this in the past, the applicant had to fill out the section, describe the project, what variants are you asking for, which section of the code are you seeking relief from? And a lot of applicants, especially if they expedite an application themselves, had trouble understanding that form. So some other municipalities simply force you to send out the public notice. I've been advising applicants just so you don't miss that just so you don't, forget to mention some section of the code, just attach the public notice and you're covered. So large applicants been doing that. So this will simplify that confusion. They don't need to explain on that form anything what they're doing. They're referring to the public notice.
And they're going to attach that.
Attach, yes. As point 3 says, will request relief described in the attached public notice. So they don't have to handwritten the section of the code here or to describe. Basically,
Yeah,
reinstate
because
what the public notice says.
No, and things could be lost in translation.
Yep.
So it's like the public notice is exactly what the relief is and what's going to be pending in front of the board. So why have them handwrite it where there's room for error?
And on the top of that, there was only one line basically, and more and more applications are requesting numerous variances. If you have relief from the front yard, side yard, there wasn't simply a rule for it. Then both mailing notice, page 16, and affidavit of mailing notice must be submitted to the clerk 7 days in advance. There is no line on top of the affidavit of mailing notice. It will be added the same way. That is simply for procedural perspective, that I have a week in advance and I have a time to check whether the mailing was done, and we're moving forward, and I can give you a heads up, hey, there was a issue, we have to renotice, so you don't have to, go visit the site, or I don't have to, we don't have to put it on the agenda if it wasn't done. But the next page, affidavit of posting, number 18. So what was added was that photograph of the posted sign must be emailed to the ZBA clerk at least 30 days prior to the hearing date, right? So we discussed that we would like applicants to start doing that. So then send a picture 30 days ahead of the hearing, but that sentence on the top must be submitted to the ZBA clerk 7 days prior to the scheduled hearing, which is discussed with Stephen today. that it should be really the day of the scheduled hearing. So in that period, 7 days, that last week prior to the hearing, they still have to make sure that the sign is there. So basically, when they submit it at the beginning of the hearing, they're testifying, yes, the sign was there entire 30 days.
I see what you're saying, yeah,
Make sense?
yeah.
So you're going to say the day of?
Yes, it's gonna be, must be notarized and submitted to the ZBA clerk the day of the scheduled hearing.
When that they must, that day, no other day will work?
No, the point
No,
is that they are responsible
Actual
for
30 days, yeah.
entire 30 days. So if they submit it 2 weeks in advance and when takes the sign off, they're like, I posted it. I have the paper and they don't have to check on the sign anymore, right?
Yeah, there's a continuing obligation to make sure that property's posted.
Uh-huh.
So you can't
I'm
just have
just,
it posted.
it's just, so people are going to have to come up the day of their hearing to submit this thing?
Before the hearing, literally, they hand it at the beginning of the hearing or prior to the hearing. So even, actually, even the mailing notice and affidavit,
So you have to get it notarized that day?
yeah.
Seems
Yes.
like a weird thing to me.
No, but it's what all other municipalities that I've appeared in, about 5 or 6.
But the actual day of the hearing, the applicant has to find a notary.
And if they're coming out from the city
Yeah.
or something,
They can email the document.
What if they're in Timbuktu and they have, whatever, somebody's coming up to present for them?
That
Where are they
person
gonna-
coming to, it's done all the time. And again, it can be emailed. The document doesn't have to be the original for
But
us
you
to
have
take
to, but you
jurisdiction.
have to find a notary on the day of your hearing.
Which we have 2 in the room. I don't know,
Yes,
I mean, yeah, I mean, to come to the town hall by 4 o'clock or by 5 o'clock to the bank or, I don't think it's too hard for.
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
but if you got people presenting it and they're off the island, they're gonna come here before 4 and sit and wait
Oh,
before
but
we
there are
open.
notaries of island too.
Huh?
There are notaries of island too.
Right.
The point is, this is actually, it made a lot of sense, Phil, especially since we had somebody coming and
Yes.
complaining
Yeah.
that the sign wasn't there. I walked by too, the sign was there when I walked
I
by.
was there when I was at the hardware store, yeah.
I was there when
Yeah.
the person was adamant that the sign wasn't there when he walked by.
Mm-hmm,
This would kind of,
okay.
clear that issue.
Okay,
I get the 30 days so that the dates line up so that you're certifying it on that
Yes.
30-day mark. I understand that.
Yeah, I understand
But I
that.
also understand that's a tricky to get.
At the
Well,
meeting
why don't
night.
we
Yeah.
try it? Why don't we try it? And if there's issues, you could revisit it. Again, hold it
Okay.
Yeah.
hold the applicants here to the same standard as surrounding municipalities.
okay,
Okay.
all right. So the day of, it must be submitted to the CBA clerk the day of the scheduled.
Yes.
Does it have to be by like end of business day at 5 o'clock, or can they bring it to the hearing?
Whenever
bring
they
it to
get it
them.
notarized,
They can bring it to the hearing?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So in the past, actually, what's happening that all these 3, the affidavit of mail, before we revised this application, it was a frequent practice that the applicants came in and I added that no, there must be submitted 7 days. But it was regular practice that the applicant came at the hearing and handed it to me at the beginning of the hearing. That we hold a hearing, but in reality, I had no chance to check whether it was
Right.
well sufficiently, right?
Okay.
Anything else that you wanted to point out to us in this application?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Wait, Christina, I'm sorry, did you discuss the special permit?
Oh,
form?
yeah, I forgot that one. The special permit, there was another thing. Sorry, yes, Steven, thank you. Page 14,
Yep.
each sentence, each question had the line added, explain.
Okay. And Just as an aside on the special permit and area variance business, that there, I want to make clear that there are times where a special permit is required if you're going up, right? If you have a house that's built in the setback and you're just going up, in those cases, you need a special permit, but you don't need a new area variance. For a while, there was a time where we were doing special permit area variance, whatever, it depended on who was the person writing the denial letters. And, I think the only time you really need the variance is if there's some new intrusion into the setback, an increase in the footprint in the setback. And that if you're just going up, and it's whatever, it's the level of scrutiny from us, I think, is still the same, but I think it's unnecessary requirement on the applicants. If in fact they're not pushing out at all into the setback further. Just because I know that there's somebody questioning why an application is approved for a special permit and why didn't an area variance, even though it was just going up. And they pointed out that there were some applications, in fact, where it was just going up and the person writing the denial letter was requiring both. And then there were other applications where the person writing the denial letter was only requiring the special permit. And so I think we should just need to go, have some sort of consistency on those types of applications.
Yeah, I'd recommend, Phil, if we can meet with Reed and go over that.
Okay.
Because I'm a little concerned too about when it's required, when it's not required. And then also, if we're going to continue to stay, because in my mind, I think you could get away just an area variance for everything, even if it's going up, because it's the same review regardless if it's on the first floor or up.
Right.
But
that's not the way
think,
the code. That's not the way our code is written.
No, and that's what I'm saying. We'll talk about it and we'll see if it has to be brought to the town board to change the code. But at the minimum, if you're going to keep both the concurrent special permit and area variances, I think you have to change the standards for the special permit, because as you see tonight, 75% are inapplicable, or you're twisting the language to try to make it applicable to the situation. So if we're going to keep a special permit, then I think we have to come up with specific standards that are more applicable
I think what it is, Stephen has said, we're calling a couple different things, special permit things where, an increase in the bulk of the nonconformity, that's our special permit thing, right? But there are other special permits issued by the town for uses that are allowed in certain districts with a special permit. And sort of change of uses and that kind of thing. And I think the special permit form that we have sort of reflects that more than an increase in the bulk.
Yeah, I know. That's why I think if we could come up, if we're going to keep it that way, come up with specific standards that have to deal with the increase in bulk, and then have that. And I talked to Christina about adding the please explain on the special permit form, just because if it's just boxes to be checked, it's merely conclusory, so it's not even worth the paper it's written on, as opposed to forcing them to have to justify the yeses.
By them, you mean us?
No.
Here, it's an application.
I see.
So it used to be only yes, no,
Okay.
no, so we added a line with the explain.
Okay,
Right,
instead of just checking the box.
Exactly.
right.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Anything else here tonight? No? Can I have a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Second? All in favor? Aye?
All right.
Meeting's closed.
Good night.
Good night.